Hello. What's up? What's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. We're actually on a roll. I've actually streamed every week for about like a month and a week, maybe like 5 or 6 weeks. That's very good for me if you didn't know. So hopefully we can keep this going. For those that don't know, I try to stream every Friday at 6 p.m. Central, which is what time it is now. Actually, it's 6:02. I'm about 2 minutes late, but that's fine. We're good. Anyway, how's everyone doing? Sore rib, what's up? How are you? How's everyone's weekend? Anyway, sorry, I got a little distracted. Just trying to set something up. Can everybody hear me okay and see me okay? And is there's some music in the background? Let me know if it's too loud. Once again, we're just kind of chilling today. I promise in the future I'll probably have some actual content, but I just like chilling and hanging out with the homies sometimes as well. How many penguins does it take to change a light bulb? Is this a joke? I don't know the if it's a joke. I don't know the punchline. How's my evening? My evening is pretty good. Um, haven't really done a whole lot. I was prepping for my D&D game earlier. It's usually what I do on Fridays. Ate some burritos. So all in all, pretty good Friday for me. I was hoping you could help me. Seems like there are way too many penguins on this job, and I think they're screwing me over. It's a Clueless reference. What the penguin thing is a Clueless reference, or something else is a Clueless reference? Rolling with the homies is a Clueless reference. Pretty sure I've seen Clueless, but it's been a while. I used to watch the Clueless TV show all the time. Honestly, my relationship with Clueless is more to do with the TV sitcom than the movie. I should do a video about Clueless. I think it would be unexpected. Speaking of videos, I hope everyone has checked out my most recent video. Came out with a video the other day. It's gotten a good reception so far. Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in years and years. Maybe I mean I probably haven't seen that movie since I was a teenager. What movie have I watched the most? Definitely Rush Hour. It's not even close. That's one question that I definitely know the answer to. Me and my brothers used to watch Rush Hour over and over again. I could probably quote that whole movie. I don't, maybe not now because it's been a while since I've seen it, but there was a time where I could quote that whole movie from beginning to end. What artists or band have you recently rediscovered your love for? I don't know. I don't really like listen to a lot of music. Um, and usually the stuff that I listen to is stuff that I've already been listening to, so I don't know if there's anything I've rediscovered. Let me think. I guess I recently, I mean, I don't know if I would call it rediscovering, but I've been listening to a lot of MIA recently. And I've always liked MIA, but more recently I've realized that MIA is like one of my favorite artists ever, and that she's like a genius. And I don't think I like put I don't think I always thought that. I always thought that she was good, but like recently I've been like, wait a minute, this shit is super tight. So maybe that's an example. Didn't even remember there was a TV show. Yeah, people don't really talk about it. I don't know if it lasted that long. There might have been only a couple seasons, and it didn't have what's her face, Alicia Silverstone in it. They replaced the main girl. I think most of the other actors were the same, but they replaced her because I guess they couldn't afford Alicia, or she had other stuff to do. But Clueless, it was actually a pretty good show. Plus, I had a big crush on Stacey Dash back then. Um, that's probably one of my biggest crushes of all time. She kind of as time went on, she became kind of a weird conservative, which is kind of whack. But she definitely is a good looking lady. Been meaning to finish. It's a good video so far. Fair enough. I'm glad you're liking it so far. Mm, my bro watched Rush Hour 2 100 times. Yeah, I've definitely seen the sequels, but the original is the one that I watched the most amount of times. But those movies are very rewatchable, I would say. I watched Clueless again this year after I've seen somewhere that it's hugely inspired by the book Emma by Jane Austen, the Pride and Prejudice girly. I didn't know that, but I mean I've never read any of the Jane Austen books, but apparently they're very influential and inspire a lot of stuff. Uh, she has ended up to be quite the character. Are you talking about Stacey Dash? I like MIA, especially the album that has Born Free. Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's pretty good. Especially like, I don't know, she had this period where she was just dropping banger after banger after banger. It was crazy. Weren't you obsessed in playing Silk Song? I am seeing that everyone is playing that, which is fine because I mean, which makes sense because Hollow Knight's a goated game. I don't really play a lot of video games though. And I never beat Hollow Knight. It was too hard. And I'm the type of guy, I don't know, I'm at the point where my attention span is kind of shot, I guess. And if I get stuck in a game, there's a very good chance that I'm just going to quit. I just don't have the patience that I used to when I was younger. So Hollow Knight was just too hard for me. And it's a little bit shameful, but at the end of the day, I'm an adult. I can admit that I've given up. But it's fun. It's a really fun game. It's a really beautiful game. Will you try out Armor King? What is Armor King? You mean Tekken? I haven't even played Tekken 8 yet, if that's what you're talking about. At least she gave us Dion. She was so fly. Either her or Janet on Poetic Justice. Yeah, I mean, a lot of it was just the fact that Stacey Dash is beautiful, but the character was pretty likable as well. And yeah, Poetic Justice. I forgot about that movie. That's a classic. That's a certified hood classic. Have I seen HBO's Watchmen? Nope. You the best T1J. Love your BMW content. Any idea why that show resonated with you so much? I don't know. I think there's a lot of reasons. I think for one, I was just the right age when I watched it, and the characters on the show were well. So I didn't watch that show. I think I caught that show mostly in reruns, but when I did catch the show, the characters were around the same age that I was, so I felt like I really related to them a lot. And that was a show like that was kind of about teenagers and for teenagers. And it kind of like took teenagers seriously, but just shows like that, I think in general, meant a lot to me. And I feel like there weren't that many that I can think of from that time. Especially one that wasn't on a children's channel. Like that was just straight up on ABC. And I just think that show was like, it was just kind of on a different level than a lot of the other TGIF shows. Because when you think about the other TGIF shows, I think of stuff like Family Matters and Full House and like, like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. And all those shows are just like really sort of cheesy, like goofy shows that rarely sort of got real. Meanwhile, Boy Meets World got real all the time. It just felt like a very real, thoughtful show, and so I think it stood out at the time. Tekken 8, it's decent, but a lot of the fan base are quite vocal about finding it a frustrating game. That's interesting. Although I don't know if I've ever met a fan base for a game that didn't complain about their game all the time, especially fighting games. So I take that with a grain of salt. But I have heard that a lot of people who loved Tekken 7 are not totally happy with Tekken 8. And I loved Tekken 7. So I'm interested to see what the difference is. Did you like My So-Called Life at all? I didn't. I never saw that show. For some reason that show passed me by. I think I thought it was for girls or something, and so I didn't watch it when I was a kid. Like these days, I wouldn't care. But here I am talking about that when I was just talking about how I watched Clueless. But so I don't know. For some reason, just certain shows. I think it's because Clueless was on TGIF, so I just caught it because it was on. But yeah, I missed out on My So-Called Life. I don't really know anything about it. I really like Smart Guy, Best TV Dad. Yeah, Smart Guy was pretty good. But yeah, Boy Meets World. I don't know. It's just like I guess that's like my comfort show. Like at this point, I've seen that show so much. If so, like someone someone asked what movie I've seen the most. Definitely Rush Hour. If you ask me what show I've seen the most, it's probably Boy Meets World at this point. I can't think of what else it would be. Especially as an adult, I've watched Boy Meets World from beginning to end like 4 or 5 times in the past 5 years. You watch cartoons a lot more, stuff like Arnold, Arthur, Daria. I definitely watch a lot of cartoons as well. It kind of depends on what era of my life. Because there's definitely a time where I was watching just sitcoms all the time, which is why I'm like so obsessed with them. I just grew up watching them. But I think like when I was younger, I watched a lot of cartoons. I remember watching Cartoon Network all the time. I also remember when I was even younger watching like like Fox Kids and stuff like that. The Disney the Saturday morning Disney block, stuff like that. PBS Kids for sure. I watched PBS all the time. Did you watch Parker Lewis Can't Lose? No. I've never heard of that actually. Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Interesting. Yeah, I've literally have never heard of that. I think that must have been like slightly before my time. 1990. I was 5 years old in 1990. This one must have not have gotten reruns. Because usually, if the show's that old, I probably only saw it through reruns. And I guess this show either wasn't popular enough. It didn't get 100 episodes, which is usually you have to get 100 episodes before you get a syndication deal. And that it probably just didn't last long enough. What's your favorite Boy Meets World theme? Definitely the last one. That's the only one that's good. They kind of figured out the theme song in like season 5, I think. All the other ones are pretty bad. I don't remember much of Rush Hour. Is it the one with the little girl singing Mariah Carey in the car? That did happen in the movie. It's interesting that that's the part that you remember because I feel like that's not the most memorable part of the movie, but it is. I think it's like the first thing that happens in the movie, so maybe that's why you remember it. I think it's literally the first scene in the movie. The slasher episode of Boy Meets World was the best. Felt too real. Absolutely. Many people would say that that is the best episode of Boy Meets World. PBS is the goat. I have a lot of fond memories of PBS. There was a period growing up where we didn't have cable, so all we watched was PBS. Bill Nye, Kratz Creatures, Zaboomafoo, uh, Even Sesame Street, Reading Rainbow, Between the Lions, Wishbone. We watched all that shit. If you still like Boy Meets World as an adult, you may want to give My So-Called Life a try. It's not really a comedic show, though. I mean, yeah, I might check it out. I'm interested to see how that is. If it's not a comedy, it's just like a teen drama. Because Boy Meets World, it was definitely a comedy, but especially in the later seasons, it was basically a soap opera. Bill Nye should have been a WWE heel for a time. I don't understand the comment. Bill Nye was awesome though. Zubumafu is the best. I loved it so much growing up. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, we watched all that stuff because we didn't have anything else to watch. I think my mom would just put us in front of the TV and we just watch PBS like literally a full like 6 hour block of children's programming or something or however long it was. Did you catch Mr. Wizard reruns? We didn't watch Mr. Wizard. I don't think that came on when I was watching. Was that on PBS? I mean, I'm familiar with Mr. Wizard, but I didn't watch it. Also, Mr. Rogers. I forgot Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers was the goat. In WandaVision, there's a bit based on Malcolm in the Middle. I found that kind of surreal because, unlike the other sitcoms they parodied, Malcolm in the Middle is arguably darker than most of the MCU. I mean, I guess in some ways, but yeah, they definitely parodied Malcolm in the Middle. Mr. Wizard was just Nickelodeon. Man, you really tried to spell that, but they were replayed the shit out of them. Oh, was it on Nickelodeon? Yeah, I don't remember watching with Mr. Wizard as a kid at all. I don't know if I ever did. I was born and raised in Brazil. We got all those PBS shows being broadcasted in different channels. I could see that. I mean, that makes sense. Different international networks just kind of buy up licenses for whatever shows they can get. I think even PBS, like many of the shows, I think were created for PBS, but I think some of them PBS just sort of like acquired the rights to air. Didn't necessarily like fund them themselves. That's back when Sesame Street was on network TV. Now Sesame Street isn't it like on HBO or something? It's like behind a paywall. Like what the hell is that about? I wouldn't say Malcolm is dark. They're just poor. I mean, it definitely ventures into dark humor sometimes, but I don't know if I would say it's darker than how dark the MCU can get sometimes. But it can definitely be dark. It's always funny how many actors go on to become political commentators. I mean, maybe do they? Is there a higher percentage of actors who become political commentators than any other job or industry? We're always told they're poor, but their house looks fine. I mean, what do you expect a poor person's house to look like? I think that poor people can I don't know, having a house is not an indication that someone is not poor. Sometimes you get a house uh sometimes like you inherit a house from your family or you know, depending on where you live, you can get a decent house for not that much money, especially depending on the era in which you bought the house. But I don't know. They're like I used to live in a poor neighborhood, and their house is very similar to many of the houses that were in my neighborhood. And I don't know if they were like, and it's also like, how do you define poor? But they were definitely working class for sure. But they might. I get the sense that they probably had um, savings, or at least like, you get the sense that they weren't like in danger of being put on the streets. So there's different levels of poverty. I always just describe them as working class, but in many ways, depending on who you ask, that could mean the same thing as poor. I just watched your episode on the multiple timelines and just want to say it was great. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. The video seems to be getting a pretty good reception, which I am happy about. Everybody hates Chris carried some of the Malcolm spirit. Yeah, I can see that for sure. Everybody hates Chris is a good show too. How many videos are you usually working on at a time? Is it one at a time and then you publish it, or do you have three or four simmering simultaneously? Usually, I mean, I realistically it's just one at a time. I always have a lot of ideas simmering, but in terms of what's actually being worked on, it's usually about one at a time. Um, but it kind of depends because there's different steps to the process of making a video. And so like if you consider like researching part of the process of making a video, then sometimes I'll be researching the next video while I'm working on a video or something like that. And also I'm like trying to get back into making more short form videos, and those are like quicker to make, and so I can make those sort of in the downtime between regular videos. And then thank you for the $2 Canadian. Thanks again for the thoughtful and genuine content. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thanks for the timeline vids. My partner and I have been binging Malcolm in the Middle. I got to that one a day or two later. Awesome. I appreciate that. Yeah, Malcolm in the Middle. That show, you know how like a lot of sitcoms, it takes them a while to sort of find their groove and like get really good. Malcolm in the Middle is good from the very beginning. It starts off on a roll. So in the bowling episode, I think is like it's in the middle of season 2. So it's like very early on in the episode, or very early on in the show, and it's like one of the best episodes of the entire series. Hi, I'm Jason. Hello, Jason. Brazilian channels over here rerun Everybody Hates Chris to this day. Are there any shows on US TV on air for this long? Absolutely. I'm pretty sure you could probably still find Everybody Loves Chris or Everybody Hates Chris being aired somewhere today. If a show's popular, it'll get re-aired like till the end of time, really. Maybe not to the end of time, but like especially now with all these like streaming services and premium like cable channels and stuff, they're always like looking for stuff to run. And old sitcoms are a good sort of like comfort watch that you can just kind of play, and it's like hundreds of episodes that you could just play. So yeah. But yeah, and if a show's like extremely popular, like you can always find it airing somewhere. Like you'll always be able to find like Friends and Seinfeld airing somewhere. Um, if it's a show that's like owned by a certain network, or they'll probably play it. Like a lot of the ABC sitcoms are owned by Disney, so they play it on all their stuff. So yeah, for sure. Syndication. That's kind of I don't know the business model these days, but in the back in the day in the 80s and 90s, that was the whole goal when you made a TV show, was to make a TV show and hopefully it gets popular enough that you can make 100 episodes and sell those 100 episodes as a package to be re-aired in syndication. So you get paid whenever someone chooses to re-air it. And then you're just set for life because you just get paid residuals off the syndication. I don't think that's still the business model of TV or of sitcoms because everything's so different now with streaming and stuff. But that used to be the whole business model. Like a lot of those people who made popular TV shows literally don't have to work anymore because they just live off the residuals of the shows that they made. Hey, no time to stay. Just want to say hi. Love the last video. Now bye. Well, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate the kind words. There was a time Seinfeld was on all day across 12 channels. I believe it. It is pretty popular. Do you ever watch British sitcoms like Only Fools and Horses, Porridge, or Bottom? Not really. Yeah, I don't I'm never in a position to watch them. I don't even know where to watch them, but I'd be interested. I've seen a few different sitcoms here and there. Like I've seen Coupling, and I've seen some of the ones that they used to show late at night on American TV, like Are You Being Served? I've seen a couple of those, and I like them because I just love sitcoms. But yeah, I just don't know. I'm ignorant of British sitcoms. I would like to learn more about them. I've seen IT Crowd. That one's really good. The medical office I work at has a TV on a channel that seems to air Friends and only Friends 24/7. I believe it. I totally believe it. That's what happens when you make a show that has 10 seasons. You can just play that show only all day. because they've made enough episodes, and nobody who worked on that show has to work anymore. I mean, they still do because it's their passion, and they probably want a little more cash, but they don't really have to. I'm sure that each one of the main actors of Friends probably makes, I would guess, $50,000 to $80,000 a year just off residuals from Friends. That's a complete guess, but I bet it's something in that realm, if not more. And not even just the actors, the directors, the writers, the producers, they all get paid. Assuming they had smart contracts drawn up, but I think there's a pretty standard contract that includes all that. And then there are people who they probably don't make enough to live off of, but they make enough to supplement their income. Like I was reading about the guy who played the soup Nazi on Seinfeld. Like he gets a little check for that role every now and then. And I don't think he lives off of it, but it's like it's a not insignificant amount. And he was in like one episode. What's your favorite decade of interior design? People say a lot of houses inside look like warehouses now. Well, I don't know anything about design, but I have heard about and noticed the trend of everything becoming super bland and boring now. And it is unfortunate. I kind of fell into that trap myself. Like in my apartment, I've been working on like adding color to my apartment. Right now, almost everything in my apartment is either black or gray because I thought it would be cool. I thought it was like sleek. But now that I'm here and inside of it, it's like this is kind of boring. It kind of bums me out. So I've been like slowly trying to add some more color to my apartment. So I kind of fell into that trap as well. But I couldn't tell you anything about when the best era is. I that's not a it's not a skill that I have. It's identifying design trends. I think in terms of just aesthetic in general, I think the 80s had the best aesthetic. Not even just visually, but just like everybody, I don't know, the 80s just was like really cool. I feel like it was more colorful, but it wasn't like colorful in an obnoxious way like the 90s. It was colorful in a like hip way. And everything was like big in the 80s and like angular in the 80s. A sort of angular aesthetic. I don't know. I'm into that. Did you play Baldur's Gate 3? I played some of it. I didn't get past Act 1 though. Like I was saying earlier, I don't know, my attention span for video games is like really, really dropped. I'd like to finish Baldur's Gate 3 at some point though. Your opinion on the Bridget Macron story? I don't know the story. Is that something that I should know? Have you seen Resident Alien? I have not. That sounds like an anime. Have I seen? It's not an anime. Okay. No, I've not seen. I've never heard of it. I don't think. Is that a comedy? Science fiction comedy drama television series based on a comic book. No, I never seen it. Is it on streaming? If it's on straight up TV, I definitely have never seen it. But even if it's on streaming, I probably have never seen it. Scarface is my favorite just for the house decor. Like the movie Scarface. I don't remember what the house looked like. But I really need to I need to redecorate my apartment. I don't really feel like spending money on it though. That's the problem. I want to put up like some artwork and stuff. Resident Alien is very funny. It's on Netflix. Okay, it is on Netflix. Yeah, I just looked it up. It says it was on Sci-Fi. Looks. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to check it out. I like sci-fi comedy and supernatural comedy. There are a few things on my list that fall into that category that I want to watch. The locations are very opulent. Yeah, I guess I remember that about Scarface. I haven't seen that movie in a long time though. I'm having a hard time picturing like the actual locations. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I need to watch. There's honestly like too many shows. I don't understand how people watch all these shows. These days, usually if I'm watching a show, it's probably because I'm gonna do a video about it, and I don't have a lot of time to watch anything else. But I say that knowing that I also will just sit down and watch YouTube all day. So I guess instead of watching YouTube, I could be checking out a new interesting show. I just read your question, Rebecca. The kind of responding to that question as you write it. But what am I currently watching? Um, I'm trying to decide. I don't want to like spoil upcoming videos, but I am finishing. Like, I made a video talking about Malcolm in the Middle and Community, and I technically haven't finished those shows, but I'm on the verge of finishing them. Um, there's another show that I just watched, but I don't want to spoil it. The video is coming out. Um, I'm gonna check out the this new Office spinoff called The Paper. I am unsure if that's gonna be any good, but if there's anything interesting to say about it, I might do a video about it. And then I just have a long list of shows that I need to watch. I haven't started most of them, but I want to watch King of the Hill. Um, I want to watch King of Queens. I want to watch Married with Children. Um, so yeah, there's a lot. There's a long list. I'm not sure which one I'm gonna do next. Is there any show you had to pirate to watch just because of the lack of a streaming service picking it up? No. Well, actually, there's a video. I don't. I think it's unlisted now, but some of you may have caught the video that I made about Kid Nation, which is a reality show about a bunch of kids who run a city. Pretty good show. That show, I didn't have to. I mean, I didn't pirate it myself, but I found a copy of it that someone else pirated, and I used that. But that's the only time. Every show that I've made a video about has been available on streaming. That's one cool thing. I guess it's cool. It's a little bit annoying because they're all on different streaming services, and um it's kind of obnoxious sometimes having to have like four or five different streaming services. Luckily for me, I can write the fees down on my taxes as a business expense. But that's probably not true of most of you. But it's still annoying. But it is pretty cool that you can find almost like any popular old sitcom on streaming. Sometimes I've heard people ask why shows like King of the Hill, a grounded realistic sitcom, are animated. I never have a good answer. What does animation bring to sitcoms? Um, I mean, King of the Hill, I guess, is grounded, but it's still pretty exaggerated. Like the characters on that show do not act like real people. I mean, I guess characters on most TV shows don't act like real people, but I would say that it's suited for animation. Um, like, can you imagine a character like Boomhauer in live action? That would be so cringe. Even a character like Bobby, I can't imagine that as a real person. But also, I just think animation is just sort of what Mike Judge is good at. And so I think that he thought that that was the best way to tell his story. Like, it's not really about why it's animated. I mean, why is anything live action? Why is anything anything? It is just is what it is, you know? You know, why is I don't know. You know, why is The Matrix a movie instead of a novel? You know, it just is what it is. I don't I kind of feel like the whole question is kind of weird. That's just the thing they wanted to make. There's got to be a novelization of The Matrix, though. That's why I hesitated to say that. I don't know if there is, but it seems like there would be. But you get what I'm saying. Like, I don't think they were trying to save money on budget. I don't think they were trying to disarm people. I just think that's the thing that they wanted to make. What's 9 plus 10? 21. Hey, hello T1J. What's your favorite breakfast food? Um, my favorite breakfast food? I guess, I mean, I don't know. I like I like a bacon, egg, and cheese biscuit. Does that count? Whenever I go to like a breakfast place, that's usually what I order. But I don't know if that's too complex of a food. I don't know if you're asking for like individual foods or like meals. It does depend on where you like who's making it though. Like some biscuits aren't good. You gotta know how to make a good biscuit, and you gotta know how to cook eggs correctly. But it's not that hard to make bacon and eggs. If you got a bad biscuit though, that could ruin it. But back in the day, we would go like when I used to go to bars a lot. We would go to the bar, and then after leaving the bar, we would go to Waffle House, and I would get two bacon, egg, and cheese biscuits. Three if I really had the drunk munchies. But usually two was enough to fill me up. And they were like $2 a piece. It was like a perfect deal. I kind of want one now. You just made me hungry. Do you ever go to live theater, musicals, etc.? Nope. Not that I have anything against it. I just don't do it. I wouldn't be opposed to doing it though. I just never really thought about doing it. And it's usually expensive. I mean, I guess they have like, free or cheap theater shows and stuff. But yeah, I just never look into it. Um it's not necessarily like my thing, I guess. But I'm sure it could be a cool experience, especially if you like go with friends or something. I think I'd be more interested in going to see like a stage play than to see like a musical or an opera or something like that. But I haven't done that either, so yeah, I guess there's improv and stuff. Which I guess that counts as live theater, right? You're an art worker, you get discounts. Is that right? An art worker? Am I considered an art worker? I've been actually meaning to go check out some local improv. Um, yeah, I've never gotten around to it. I have a friend that does improv, but I've never gone to see him do it. I've been to stand up shows, if that counts. Cheap breakfast food when you're drunk. Oh yes. Yeah, that was the jam. Um I try not to get too drunk these days. It just doesn't work for my old man body, but and neither does really eating a bunch of greasy breakfast food, but every once in a while, you gotta treat yourself. I like musicals, but I'm poor, so I get by with bootleg recordings. I guess whatever works. I don't know. I have a I don't know how I feel about musicals. Like I respect musical theater as an art form, but I feel like most of the music in musicals is bad. And I feel like that's like to a person who likes musicals, that's probably a controversial thing to say. And I promise I'm not being a hater. Like I'm open to like hearing awesome songs, but I feel like whenever I listen to songs from musicals, the music sounds so lazy and like phoned in. Like it's like they're there as a formality rather than to actually be entertaining a lot of the time. Obviously there are exceptions. Um but I don't know. It's just really weird to me. And maybe it's just I haven't like developed the ear for show tunes or whatever you're supposed to do. Um but yeah, I don't know. It's just always been weird to me. But you know, I compare it to my love of sitcoms, especially like multi-camera sitcoms. And I talked about this in the video before. A lot of people don't like multi-camera sitcoms. Because the art form just seems weird to them. They think it's weird for people to sort of, all stand in a semicircle facing the audience and waiting for each other to tell jokes before they start speaking, and waiting for the audience to laugh. And so it just might be just you're just not used to the format. Like Disney movies usually have really good songs, but a lot of like stage musicals, the music is like nowhere near as good. It's like, what is this? This is trash. And it'll be like a Tony Award winning musical, and I'm like, I don't like any of these songs. It's crazy there are many movies and shows becoming musicals or stage plays. Maybe one day Boy Meets Musical. You know what? I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of I mean, is show tunes the name of the? Is that what it's called? Is that what songs from musicals are called, or is show tunes referred to a specific thing? Um, but a lot of those songs are really like cringe too, like very corny. Because I think because a lot of them are like them singing the words that they're saying, and it's like when you sing a conversation, it's cringe. That's not that's not what songs are for. I don't know. I feel like I'm about to. Uh, I'm like going on a rant here that I don't mean to go on. I feel like songs are supposed to be like poetry. They're supposed to like use words in unique and fluid ways. Not don't just like have a conversation except sing it. Like I don't know, that's cringe to me. I agree about musicals, but stage plays can feel like a live studio audience without as many laughs. Well, yeah, but not all stage plays are supposed to be comedic, right? Hard to agree on music from musicals, even though I sing songs from my favorite musicals all the time. A lot of musicals are just not good. I think it's very possible for musicals to have a really interesting story while still having like mediocre music. I think that's probably possible. And it's possible for musicals to have really stupid, mediocre stories, but really good songs. And you're listening to a guy who definitely is not an expert on musicals and probably has not watched/listened to that many of them. So my opinion is probably very lacking in perspective. But I'm just going off my experience. Like for example, Hamilton was like all over the place, and Hamilton is interesting. I guess the story is interesting, and I like maybe two of the songs in Hamilton, but most of it is like so mediocre. But people love that shit. I don't know. That shit was so popular. That's literally all everybody talked about for like 6 months. It's like, is it that good? I'm trying to think of like good like songs from musicals that I really like. Yeah, the Disney movies were solid when it came to the music. The Phantom of the Opera has good music. Um uh Into the Woods, that's a good musical. That's what it's called, right? Into the Woods? Or is that the name of the song? Yeah, the musical. So I take it you've never felt the spontaneous urge to break out in song and dance? I have, but when I do, I acknowledge that no one should give me an award for the song that I've that I've just made up in my head. There's no reason to perform it in front of people. But like I said, I think it's probably just a taste and sensibility type of thing. Everyone kind of has their thing that they like. The thing is, I want to like it. Like like uh sometimes they do musicals where all of the songs are music from popular songs. And those are always good, or at least they're always entertaining because the songs are good. Hamilton is too lyrical spiritual miracle for me. Exactly. And I think I've heard Hamilton described as rap music for people who don't like rap music. And I totally agree with that. Even Grease, I like Grease. And that's an example of a musical. And I Grease was Grease a movie before it was a stage musical, or even better, a better example is the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I fucking love the Rocky Horror Picture Show, but it has a bunch of bad songs and kind of a stupid story. But the songs that are good are like really good. But that there's a whole mystique around Rocky Horror that I think just really draws people in. But yeah, I brought up Grease. I just know Grease the movie. Grease has good songs in it and kind of a stupid story. That sort of thing. So I don't know. I feel like I expected y'all to kind of yell at me, but it seems like even if you don't agree with me, you kind of feel what I'm saying. So I'll probably just stop while I'm ahead. But yeah, I want to like musicals, and I like some of them, but it's like, man, some of this shit is so cringe. I mean, feel free to recommend some like there. I've seen a couple of the really really popular ones, but feel free to recommend some. But it needs to have like actually good songs in it. I mean, like bops. You can't tell me that you can't tell me that's not a bop or like sweet transvestite. I think that's like just straight up one of my favorite songs. Did you ever watch the Rush Hour TV series? Might have gotten 2 seasons. I never watched it. It looked trash. I didn't even give it a chance. It's one of those things like I love Rush Hour so much. I was just afraid that they were going to tarnish it, so I didn't even give it a chance. Maybe it was good though. Who knows? The Wiz, oh, I've definitely seen The Wiz. Yeah, that The Wiz has great songs for sure. Yeah, I think yeah, I feel like everybody's seen The Wiz. Jesus Christ Superstar is really good. I haven't seen that one. I've definitely heard of it. Company by Sondheim. Uh I don't know, maybe I'll enter my musical theater arc. How long are musicals usually? Are they like usually the length of a movie or like longer? Or does it just depend? They made Rush Hour into a TV show. When did this happen? Exactly. I'm surprised if it got 2 seasons. I'm surprised it did. I would have thought it got like canceled pretty quickly because I saw like a commercial for it and it had like I think it had two actors I never heard of. Yeah, I don't know. It has a 27% on Rotten Tomatoes. Heathers in Hadestown. I've seen the Heathers movie. There has to be a Christmas movie that's a good musical. How do we deal with the endless dread of corporate think tanks using conservatives to push us into an era of darkness? How do we deal with it? Well, how you deal with it is a personal thing. You have to choose joy in your life. You have to choose not to be to you have to choose not to be drugged down into the pit of despair. In spite of all of the craziness going on in the world, and it's a personal choice. If you sit around waiting for uh the world to change, you're probably gonna have a bad time. And of course, you do what you can to affect your personal, those that you can affect, your friends and family and community. But you need to find some a reason for joy in your life. Any musicals by Sondheim? Movie length a little longer, even. Cool. Especially Sweeney Todd and Company. See, is Sweeney Todd the musical similar to Sweeney Todd the movie? Because I hated the movie. Well, I didn't hate the movie, but I hated all of the songs. That's a good example of a movie that's kind of interesting, but I did not like a single one of the songs. Company is about settling down in your 30s. There's a version with Colbert and Neil Patrick Harris on YouTube. Makes sense why it was canceled. Then Rush Hour just don't work without Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan. Yeah, I don't know. You know, I try to give things a chance, but yeah, Rush Hour is. I mean that's what Rush Hour is. Never heard of the Wiz. You had to go Google it. Interesting. Yeah, the Wiz is dope. Michael Jackson, Diana Ross. Ease on down the road. Hair was funny. I think I've heard of Hair. Do biopics about rock stars count as musicals? Well, you might need to ask someone else in the chat. I don't know. I suppose if because there's movies that have a lot of music in them, but I think music the point of musicals is that at some point everyone just breaks into song, and sometimes the whole thing is sung through. But a lot of biopics, it's not really about people just breaking in a song. It's you know about a musician, and then you watch them perform their song. And I don't know if that really counts as a musical. I seen Green Day American Idiot on Broadway, but of course the songs are good because they're Green Day songs. Yeah, see stuff like that, and to me, that that strengthens my point that you know you make a musical and it's good because you're just using popular songs that are good. So to me that's these people admitting that most musicals have mediocre songs because why don't we just put Green Day on there because we know that all the songs are good. I don't know. I'm not really explaining myself well. Yeah, I didn't necessarily mean to go on this tangent about musicals, but I don't know, I was just inspired to speak my piece. Cause I really am the type of guy. I'm totally not a snob about media. I go to media in order to enjoy it. Like I think some people are haters and they just like hating stuff. And so they go into stuff ready to hate it. I'm the opposite. I want to enjoy everything. And I'm easy to please. But I'm gonna be honest if not as tight as I want it to be, or if it's not as entertaining as it could be. But I feel like I'm a simple man. Just you know, write a catchy tune and I'm down. I don't even I think a lot of people are very pleased with their tastes and they consider their tastes, very like honed and complex. I'm the opposite. I'm so simple. I'm so easily pleased. Just make something I could bob my head to, or something that makes me feel happy, or something that makes me think a little bit, and I'm probably gonna be okay with it. Repo the Genetic Opera. I'm gonna have to come back to this chat. I should be writing this down, but I'll probably come back to this chat and find some stuff to look at. A lot of the music and musicals I've heard do sound very samey to my ear, so I get where you're coming from with your take. Yeah, and that's it's not even specifically that. Like, you know, s- genres exist. It's okay for genres to exist and for things to sound similar to other things within the same genre. The problem is if that sameness is all sort of mediocre. That's kind of the problem. But you know, you know, there's a lot of that sort of show tuney kind of sound. So you know, the thing is, it's just usually not that good. But and you know, maybe that's how you make sort of unique, interesting musicals these days is by making stuff that's different than that. I'd love to see a musical about Fleetwood Mac making the Rumors album. My final pitch for company with MPH is that it's the most sitcom play I've ever seen. Well, that kind of makes me interested in it. I do like funny musicals and funny plays, but that's just a personal thing. I just love comedy. Uh, I watched not too long ago. I watched Avenue Q, which was like kind of a phenomenon for a very brief amount of time. I'm pretty sure it won the Tony. It like doesn't hold up. But it like it in of itself is kind of a, at least I read it as kind of a parody of musicals. So in that sense I kind of see what they're doing, but it was like kind of cringe to watch. It was very much of its time. Yeah, it's pretty dated, which is interesting to think about because it was like kind of a big deal at the time. Adult Swim does Sesame Street. Yeah, you know, it's definitely it's a send up of Sesame Street, but it also has those sort of show tuney sounding songs, but you know, they're about like porn and masturbation and stuff like that and being gay and stuff. So it's like I kind of see what you're doing there, but yeah, it feels kind of weird to watch. I watched it like about like 2 years ago. And I was like, this is weird. Avenue Q is supposed to be a parody of Sesame Street and its messaging, but I always remember Lindsay Ellis's one tweet about it, about how it read as more of a response to Rent. Yeah, and honestly, like my take on any musical is very unsophisticated. I know Lindsay Ellis knows a lot more about that whole scene than I do, so anything she says about it is probably more true than what I say about it. That kind of made me remember being on YouTube back when people were making MS Paint MVs and anime AMVs to Avenue Q songs. Yeah, I think there was like it was like made for my generation. I think I was maybe what I was probably in college when that came out, so it was made for like 18-year-olds. But it somehow won like the Tony for best musical, which is interesting. It's hard to imagine that. who's who's your favorite athlete? My favorite athlete? Who's my favorite athlete? Um, I don't know. Maybe Shaq. I don't know. I grew up watching NBA, and I was a huge Lakers fan, mainly because Shaq was on the Lakers, and watching Shaq play basketball was fucking crazy. Like he was like a pro wrestler, except on the basketball court. It was really wild. Lindsay's video about Rent is really good. I don't know if I saw the one about Rent. I've seen some of her others. Like I saw the one about cats, and I saw the one about Phantom of the Opera. I think she did one. I don't know if I saw the one about Rent though. I saw her video about cats is hilarious, and cats, that's another weird musical. I like whenever I hear people talk about cats, it doesn't seem like anyone likes it, but somehow it's like one of the most popular and successful musicals of all time. Like it's one of the things that people only talk about like it's a meme. I mean, maybe people like it, but it seems like people always talk about it ironically. And I think that's also one that I don't. I've never seen Cats like all the way through, but I can't think of any songs from it that I like. But I'm not super familiar with it. It just looks very bizarre and weird to me. And Rent, I don't think I've seen Rent either. Is Rent the one with the 525,600 minute song? I know that song. I guess that song's good. Seasons of Love, yeah. To me, Cats is for furries what The Room is for movies. I feel like I gotta digest that analogy. Cats and Starlight Express, I've heard, are very either you like it or you don't kind of shows. Yeah, it's just weird because Cats is one of the most popular musicals like ever. Yeah, I'm familiar with that song. I guess that song is really popular, but I don't think I've actually ever seen Rent. Is Rent good? Maybe Cats really hit for Gen X. Yeah, probably. That's something to think about too, is how different generations respond to things. Just like we were talking about how Avenue Q was for people who were 18 in the early 2000s. Um, yeah, sometimes you're just not the target audience, I guess. Like how I continuously argue with my younger fans about Friends, like how all of them like Gen Z hates Friends, while I'm over here, crying when fucking Rachel comes back in the final episode. So I guess just some things just don't hit for certain audiences. And that's cool. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, sometimes stuff is just not for you. It's not. There's nothing more cringe than like like a 40-year-old man saying shit like talking about how pop music is terrible. It's like, yeah, because you're not the target audience, bro. Personally, not a fan of Rent, but I did go see one of my siblings who got cast in a production. Word. I don't really like Rent, the songs, the story, none of it. Wow. Yes, Rent is another one of those things where I can't really recall anyone saying like Rent is my jam. I love Rent, but it's just one of those musicals that has stood the test of time somehow. Always Sunny in Philadelphia is a more funny and better version of Friends. I don't know if I would compare Always Sunny to Friends outside of the fact that it's about a group of friends. Always Sunny is definitely closer to Seinfeld, I think, than Friends, but I would agree that it's funnier for sure. But yeah, I think the shows serve two different purposes. Friends is definitely more sort of wholesome and more about like relationships and dating and things like that. I've met a couple people who are really into Rent, but most people I know just like Seasons of Love, and that's about it. I'm looking forward to next season, Abbott Elementary. I need to catch up on Abbott Elementary. I've watched the first season, and that's about it. I've heard that it's gotten better over time because I thought the first season was like, yeah, it's pretty good, but I wasn't like wowed by it. But there's a lot of shows that I wasn't wowed by instantly that I ended up loving. Speaking of like Parks and Recreation is a great example, and that's a good example because Abbott Elementary really reminds me of Parks and Recreation. At least the first season does. They're both kind of about these sort of optimistic women who are trying to uh, get things done in a sort of apathetic system. And Parks and Rec started off kind of rough as well, but now Parks and Rec is like literally one of my favorite shows of all time. So I should watch more of Abbott Elementary. Is the conclusion to that story. Everybody grades Chris. I see what you did there. Would you watch The Simpsons again if they did a 10-year update like in King of the Hill? Um, sure. I don't really have anything against The Simpsons. I think The Simpsons is fine. There's, The Simpsons. Um, Simpsons. What like seasons 1 through 8 was like perfection. It's like maybe the best show ever, and then it kind of fell off. But it never was. It never got bad, in my opinion. And I think it had a handful of high points throughout the years. Obviously, I haven't watched it in several years at this point. But yeah, I don't think The Simpsons ever was bad. It just wasn't as good as it was during its peak. There was probably maybe a couple seasons where it was pretty bad, but overall, I think it's a pretty good show. Uh, it, the thing about the like 10-year update, like I want to watch. I haven't watched the new season of King in the Hill because I want to rewatch the old show first, but I just don't know if I'm ever gonna do that. So we'll see if I get around to it. But I want to know the context before I get in there. That's a good pitch for Abbott. I'll check it out. Yeah, that's the vibe I got. Sometimes shows change after the first season, so I don't know, but yeah, it has that Community 30 Rock type of humor for me. Yeah, like I compared it to Parks and Recreation, but it's a similar vibe. But yeah, it goes back to just me not watching stuff because unless I'm doing a video about it, but I should feel okay to watch stuff just for fun. And honestly, if I watch something, I can consider doing a video about it later. This is the weird world of being a content creator where you have to get out of the mindset that everything you do doesn't have to be for content. It's really hard to get out of that mindset when you make your living as a content creator because you almost feel like you're wasting time if you're doing something that isn't making you money or that isn't like increasing your fucking social media reach. And it's not a good, it's bad. That's not, I'm not saying that's a good thing. It's hard enough to enjoy something these days. When's the last time you were truly moved by art? The last time I was moved by art. Um, well, I said earlier, this isn't a new media, but I was talking about earlier how I was listening to MIA recently and just talking about how dope she is. A lot of her songs are, they give me the good butterflies. I don't know if this is the last time, but what came to mind when you said that was, um, uh, Across the Spider Verse. I don't know if that's the last time I was moved by art, but I remember leaving the theater and just like having to take a seat because I feel like I just experienced something genius. And I felt the same way for Into the Spider Verse as well. Like both of those movies are just like truly 10 out of 10. So that's just what came to mind. I don't know if that's literally the last time, but that's just what immediately came to mind. And also MIA. Like MIA Bad Girls, that song's so good. It like gives me chills every time I listen to it. I would play it, but copyright. But yeah, and like I said before, I'm kind of an easily pleased person, so it doesn't take that much for me to feel happy about having experienced something. Me listening to Bittersweet by Leanne La Havas. I don't think I'm familiar. Bad Girls Bang So Hard. Absolutely. I love that song so much. It may be one of my top 10 favorite songs. I mean, my favorite songs changes all the time, but currently, I gotta say it's in my top 10 like favorite songs all time. Is there any world where you'd YouTube box? Probably not. Boxing is assuming you're talking about like boxing, like actually like punching people. It's just not a smart thing to do. It's a very unsafe thing to do. Being punched in the head is not a good First of all, it just sucks in general. It's just not. It's an unpleasant thing, but also it's just very unsafe, and people probably shouldn't do it. But if people are consenting to do it, that's fine. I can't. I believe in the freedom to get punched in the face if you want, but I don't think I would do that. The only way I can see about doing that is there was some really crazy incentive, like a life changing amount of money or something like that, or like you know, if someone if it was like going to some charity that was gonna change the world or something like that, maybe. But in general, as it exists now, probably not. Another song I love is Yeah Right by Vince Staples. Vince Staples is good. Yeah, I'm a fan of that. I back that. Fight Hank Green, triple your subs. I don't know if that would triple my subs. Honestly, like, Hank Green might beat me. He's like tall. He's probably got like reach, and he seems pretty like not like fit, but he seems like he's on his feet a lot. He's probably got a surprising amount of stamina. Playing any good chess games lately? I've been playing more recently because some of my coworkers play and it's fun to them sometimes. Um, I don't know. I mean, I've played a few games on Chess. I kind of took a break from how much I used to play, but chess is one of those things that I know I'm always going to come back to at some point. But I haven't been playing that much lately because I've been just busy with work and things like that. Um, and I also got really obsessed with Overwatch for a while, so it left me no time to play any other games. But even I haven't even done that in a few days. But I always come back to chess, and I played like one or two games in the past week. I don't know if I would describe them as good games. I think I won them though. Your streams are a great atmosphere. Glad I could stop by at night. Thanks for stopping by, young Linda. I appreciate you hanging out. I'm pretty bad with chess. Any tips? Well, it kind of depends on what level you are, but assuming that you're on the lower level, as most people are, um, develop your pieces. Push your pawn to the center and develop your pieces. Something that a lot of players do is they don't like bringing their pieces out. I'm not sure why. They just like moving pawns. Stop moving pawns and bring your pieces out. Just move the pawns in the center and bring your knights out. Move your bishops out. I don't know why people just like pushing pawns so much. Um, Outside of that, you just have to analyze your game and make sure you're not giving your pieces away. Once you bring them out, make sure you always put them on squares where they're defended by other pieces. That's a big thing. That's something that even I only recently started to internalize. Like stop moving your pieces out to like no man's land where no one can protect them. But anybody that is like low level at chess that wants to get better at chess, watch Chess Habits by like there's a YouTube channel called Chess Bra, and they have a series called Chess Habits. Literally just watch that and do what they say. Just do everything he says verbatim. I promise you'll get to like 1,000 within a couple weeks. 1,000 rating on chess.com. Uh Maybe even like 1,200 ish. King's pawn first for white is a good first step. Yeah, if you're not moving your center pawns, you're already messing up. Uh, I would hope that if you're like even remotely casual at chess, you know that you're supposed to move either your E or your D pawn first. Well, I mean, I guess I'm being a little bit glib because when I first started chess, I wanted to try a bunch of weird moves as well. Because I used to think that any move was possible. You just had to be good enough to play around it. But no, just play the good move. Move the E pawn. It's fine. The king's pawn, the pawn in front of the king. That's what that means. Yeah, the assuming you know how all the pieces move. Literally, push your pawns to the center, develop your pieces, castle your king, and then you're like halfway there. I've heard Brazilian jiu-jitsu is like human chess. I don't know that much about jiu-jitsu, but I mean, I could see that. I think many sports are like that. That's one of the things I like about sports. Like I know a lot of people focus on the sort of the physical aspect of sports, but I think the mental game is just as important in almost every sport. And when you like really understand a sport, you can start to really appreciate the mental game, and it can often be compared to chess. Is there a song you like that you know lyrically is a little messed up? Sure, there's tons of songs like that. Literally Eminem's entire career. Like the Marshall Mathers LP is maybe my top 5 favorite rap albums, and every song on that album is fucked up. The song "Hot Blooded" by Foreigner, I'm pretty sure is about a teenage girl. Great song though. I see talent. I see his talent, but what Eminem chooses to talk about is lost on me. Yeah, especially back then, he was definitely a troubled man. Kim cleaned up my closet. He was vile. Oh yeah, and it's I'm being kind of flippant and laughing about it, but it is it is slash was a problem, and it's something that we can talk about. But you can't deny if a song's good. Like there was a lot of homophobia on those old songs, which you know sometimes when I find myself like humming the songs and I forget like the shit that he said, like god damn. And there's a lot of it is just the environment he was in, and I would like to think that he has grown as a person, and that hopefully he has. I don't know him, but yeah. But you can acknowledge if the song is good. I went over a family's house recently. They were having like we were just having like a family get together, and they were playing music, and someone just put on sort of a R. Kelly greatest hits thing, and it's like, man, I forgot how good these songs are. Why does it have to be by this man? How many complete albums do you like, as in every song? How many? I don't know. There's probably many. Um, Eminem, Marshall Mathers LP is one of them. Nirvana, Nevermind, Jay Z, Black Album, Kanye West. It's probably several Kanye West. Like Kanye West's first three albums are all just never skips. And going back to another problematic person, um, Daft Punk Discovery, the Fugees, The Score, Deltron 3030, Most Def and Talib Kweli, Black Star. There's probably dozens of them. First two Gorillaz albums. Actually, there probably are some skips on the first one, but Demon Days is fucking genius. Probably every Outcast album. There might be some skips. There's definitely some skips on Idlewild. Actually, there may not be. If there are any Outcast skips, it will be on Idlewild and Stankonia. But both of those albums are still like 10 out of 10. Lord Pure Heroin, no skips on that. Absolutely genius album. So yeah, there's a lot of them. It's been a while since I listened to like a complete album. To be fair, TLC, Crazy Sexy Cool, absolutely amazing album from beginning to end. Now I'm like thinking of old school stuff, like stuff I grew up with. Yeah, I don't know. I just went down memory lane there. My cousin used to have to hide her TLC album from me because I kept stealing it because I liked it so much. Rhythm Nation. That's a good answer, actually. I I went on like a Janet Jackson like binge the other day. She had so many bangers, like banger after banger. It was crazy. Like she was. It's kind of crazy that you don't really hear people talk about her that much these days, because she was the best. Miseducation of Lauren Hill. I agree. That's a good one. I wish Lauren Hill made more albums. This old bank teller in my new city let me have it because I said I didn't know much of Janet Jackson's music, and she like went in about how good she is. Oh hell yeah! Was it a black lady? I guess Janet Jackson's music kind of was crossover, kind of transcended race. But yeah, Janet Jackson was fucking amazing for sure. In fact, Janet Jackson is messing with Michael Jackson in terms of how good her body of work is. Like I think Michael Jackson, he was like a pop star. He had that sort of pop sensibility. Like I think he kind of started off in the R&B and just ventured more into pop. He did R&B here and there, but I think a lot of it was pop. But Janet Jackson had that soul R&B sort of influence that I think was like really cool. Uh and in a lot of cases was better in my opinion. Her run from Control to Velvet Rope is probably second to 70s Stevie Wonder. Yeah, Stevie Wonder is the shit also. The Super Bowl controversy was terrible. Yeah, I guess that's why people stopped talking about her. People really wanted to be outraged, never really heard from her again. That's so stupid. That's so crazy that thing. And you know, I won't be the first to point out how it didn't really do anything to harm Justin Timberlake's career, but it all but ended Janet Jackson's career. Just so silly. But I imagine that if she wanted to come back, she could have. She's probably just chilling. Yeah, I've got like Janet's song stuck in my head now. Cause I literally like I was saying, I just recently went on a Janet binge. Like every now and then before I go to bed, I'll just start listening to music on YouTube and just kind of vibing in my room. And I did that with Janet Jackson music the other day. Do 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 do. But yeah, Stevie Wonder is dope as well. I haven't listened to Stevie in a while. I need to go on a Stevie binge. Who could play Stevie in a biopic? Have they not made a Stevie Wonder biopic? I guess not. Who could play him? They would have to get like a skinny black dude because he was like really skinny back in the day. Like I guess you'd have to get a young person, but I don't know. I'm looking at pictures of young Stevie Wonder. He kind of looks like Andre 3000. The problem is Andre 3000 is not young. A young Andre 3000 could have made a Stevie Wonder biopic if they wanted to do that. But yeah, I don't know what actor could play this, especially these like super young ones. Tyler James Williams. Andre 3000 played Jimi Hendrix in a movie. I was thinking that he did. He played somebody in a biopic, but I couldn't. I wasn't sure if I was making that up. Jaden Smith. What's I don't know. What is Jaden Smith up to? Bro, wait, did I miss something? Are you a Bama fan? I am a Bama fan. Roll Tide. I guess you've noticed my poster in the background. You graduated? You just graduated from there. Okay, cool. Congratulations from your graduation. I went there, um, but I did not graduate. But I did go there for several years. I am, but yeah, I'm a Bama fan. Our football team looks kind of trash this year, but you can't be the best forever. I wonder who could play Prince. Now, Prince, that would be a tough one. Well, no, it wouldn't be tough, but you would just have to find an act like you'd have to find someone who's dedicated that would really study Prince, because Prince was definitely a very sort of one of a kind individual. Also, Prince was very short, so you'd have to find someone that was short. That's the problem. Cat Williams, that would be a good one. But again, Cat Williams is not young, so you'd have to find someone to play young Prince. Also, Prince was like a very like, no offense to Cat Williams, but Prince was a very pretty dude. I like Jaden Smith. A lot of rich people really confuse, frustrate me, especially second generation wealth or after, but he is feeding hungry people right now with real food, so respect. Yeah, I have no idea what Jaden Smith is up to. I just know he is eccentric, which is, kind of par for the course when you're born rich. Miss you, Saban. Yeah. It kind of goes to show how much the coach actually matters. Watching from the UK is 2 a.m. here. Well, I appreciate you watching. I'm probably going to only stream for a little while longer myself before it gets too late over here. And I've got a few things to do. I have to finish prepping for my D&D game. Also, speaking of football, I'm hosting for the game tomorrow, and so I need to clean up a little bit before I let people into my apartment. He runs a food truck company that gives free meals to different people based on their needs. That's pretty cool. I thought Jaden would be Static Shock. Maybe Gunn can make it happen. I mean, maybe. I just don't know. I don't know anything about Jaden. I'm not sure if he's a good actor. I remember some movies he was in when he was a kid. I like Willow's music. That's where I stop with the Smith family. I also like Willow's music. But yeah, I'm at a point where I don't really fuck with the Smiths. I they can kind of do their own thing. They're a little too strange for me, in my opinion. Like, I appreciate all the cool stuff y'all made, but I'm tired of hearing about your lives. I've used ChatGPT for D&D, which is cool, but I can't really find the friends with time to sit at the table. Well, you could look online. There's definitely people who wanting to play online. I don't know if you're interested in playing, like meeting new people to play with. I haven't had that problem though. It seems well lately. It's not. It's been harder. But a few years ago, it seemed like everybody wanted to play D&D. It's just no one wanted to run it. Like usually, if you're willing to actually run the game, and you tell people that, they'll like show up for a night. Just all you just literally make it, or you could literally make characters that day and just run a little one shot. But no one really wants to run it or put it together. That's the thing. You have to be the guy that's going to do that. Do you have thoughts one way or the other on ChatGPT, generative AI generally? I think AI is here to stay, and we need to figure out what to do about that. I generally don't sort of blanket oppose anything. Well, that's not true, but I don't blanket oppose it. But I understand and appreciate all of the sort of ethical concerns with AI and environmental concerns with AI, and I hope that we as a society and these companies can work together to figure out a way to use AI in an ethical and good way. But it's not going anywhere. So I think it's kind of silly to just sort of like try to like blanket, like it's silly to try to get rid of it because it's not going anywhere. And also it's like incredibly useful, especially ChatGPT and like large language models. Like they are so useful. It's kind of silly to not use them. It's such a useful tool that can help you. Obviously, if you're using it for nefarious or unethical purposes, then you shouldn't do that. Like, don't be a douchebag. Don't plagiarize. Don't get it to like write your papers for you. But, you know, I can get ChatGPT to study like 100 articles in 5 seconds. I can't do that, you know. I can ask ChatGPT to write code for me. As a person who can't write code, that might be useful. Of course, it might be more useful in the long run to learn code. But even if you do learn code, ChatGPT can help you find errors in your code. Like, it's just too useful to not use. I feel like you're being kind of silly if you just refuse to use it because it's just way too useful. Generative, like AI in terms of like generative video and generative images, it's that gets a little more creepy. And I don't like the idea of replacing artists with AI, but mostly because AI art is worse than human-made art almost across the board. But at the same time, AI can be useful to help human artists. Like AI can give you inspiration or give you ideas in terms of how to lay out something or how to design something or give you color scheme ideas. Like it's a useful tool. I think we just all have to come together to figure out how to use it in ethical ways. Seems intimidating. Do you run it? I do run it. In fact, that's the main thing I do. I don't really get to play that much as a player. I mostly run the game, but it's fine because I love to do that. It's a very sort of fulfilling creative outlet for me. It's almost like you get to write a story that, well, it's not almost like, it literally is. You get to write a story. You get to create a world and then other people live in it. Like, to me, that's super cool. I'm like into that. But it's not for everybody, but I just, if you just really want to play D&D, that's the best way to do it, is to run the game. Because if you can, if you tell people that you'll run the game and you'll handle all the hard work, they'll probably show up. Maybe AI can help you be a better DM. Probably it can probably help you organize things. It can give you tips. I'm sure it can give you basic tips on how to be a DM. AI in general isn't that useful for how much energy, space, and resources it takes, and we already had search engines that were just as efficient and took 1/10 as much resources. There's definitely no search engines that are as useful as large language models. Like it's not even close. Um, you can have the argument that it's not worth the energy that it uses. That's a fine argument. Um, but if we have if we could come up with something that was as good that used less energy, I'd be all for that. And I'm sure if we could, we would. And perhaps people are working on that, and we should work on that if we're not. But to say that we've had tools that are as good, I think that's just incorrect. Um, there's never been a tool that could, you know, research 1,000 articles and summarize them all in 10 seconds and then feed it back to you. I don't think we've ever had that before. But again, we all have to we as a society we have to figure out a way to use this in a good way. I don't think that we've done it yet, but I don't think it's going anywhere. So we have to figure out what we're going to do about it. And in general, I consider it like in general, I don't believe in hindering the evolution of technology. I feel like technology continues to improve the world, and we should continue to find ways to improve and enhance our technology. So I automatically, uh, I automatically am uncomfortable when people say we should destroy this technology. That just doesn't sit well with me. But you know, just like we invented cars, cars are heavily cars are terrible for the environment. And so we started making cars that are better for the environment. It took us too long to do it, but we did start doing it. And now we have electric cars, and hopefully we continue that. To me, this is the equivalent of saying, well, we should destroy all cars because they're bad for the environment. It's like, well, why don't we just figure out a way to make them better? I just watched your newest video. Thank you so much. That made my day. Your energy is perfect, and your speaking on the shows is perfect. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. Can you tell us a bit about your current D&D game you're hosting? Yeah, I've I've run a bunch of games. So we want to do something different for this one, and my current game actually takes place in on modern day Earth. So all of the players are just humans on Earth, but there is a the city that they live in has a connection to the Feywild, which is the sort of the fairy realm, a magical dimension, basically. And so they're kind of investigating that, and because of that connection, magic is slowly seeping into the real world, and like people are getting superpowers, and basically they're trying to decide if it's a good or bad thing that people are learning and discovering magic, because some people are using it for good and some people are not using it for good. And of course, some of the players interact with magic themselves. Like one of the players is a warlock, and she got those powers through a sort of magical artifact that she found that was infused with magic through the connection that the city has with the Feywild. And yeah, we most of our campaigns have been the typical sort of fantasy swords and sorcery type thing, but we wanted to do something, or I wanted to do something a little different this time. I guess you need good improv to be a DM. Well, you don't need the only thing you need to be a DM is just to DM. Like there's no you're not being judged, like there's no you're not going to be graded at the end of it. Literally, the only test to see if you're DMing correctly is if you're having fun, and if you're having fun, then you're doing it right. Obviously, there's skills you can improve. You can improve your improv skills. You can improve your building skills, your writing skills, your voice acting, or whatever you like to do. Um, but it's not required for you to have fun playing D&D. But yeah, I mean, improv helps. Like the rule of improv is yes and. You may have heard this before. It's kind of a meme at this point. But if you just kind of keep yes and in mind, you probably fine. And if you don't know yes and, it's basically anytime, whenever you're sort of presented with a situation or your players do or say something, instead of shutting them down, try to build on what they presented. Say yes and. So say yes, I'm gonna go with that, and then add more to it. And if you keep that in mind, like kind of always think about your try to make your players look good at all times. And if you just keep that in mind, improv comes a little bit easy. Also, another thing of improv is you have to not be afraid to look stupid. I think that's one of the main things that prevents people from like, or that makes people like afraid to role play and stuff, is they don't want to look stupid and they're afraid of looking stupid. But you have to like embrace the stupid. You have to be okay with saying something stupid and looking stupid. It's fine. I promise everything's going to be fine. Just literally just say the thing. And if it's like super inappropriate or ridiculous, you can apologize later. But I promise it'll be fine. And also, if you're like me, I like preparing a lot of stuff. Which, so if you have a lot of stuff prepared, you don't have to improv as much. But obviously that takes more work, which a lot of people don't want to do. But I like to have stuff prepared. That's just my thing. It's fun to me. So I'll have like the whole city fleshed out. I'll have the descriptions of all the buildings and all the characters. I'll try to anticipate like what the players are going to do and then write down what my responses will be. I'll like have sort of monologues pre-written from the NPCs that they're going to meet. So I like preparing stuff. But even if you prepare stuff, your players are always going to surprise you. So you shouldn't bank on, like, you shouldn't uh, have that as a crutch. You should always be prepared to improvise because you will have to, because your players will always do something you don't expect. Always. You should always expect unexpected stuff to happen because, not everybody thinks the same way as you do. Sometimes you have to invent entire new characters or entire new locations or entire new quests because your players did something you didn't expect. But to me, that's fun. That's the fun of it. And also, sometimes you'll have like 5 pages prepared, and your players will just never interact with it because they just didn't go where you thought they were going to go. But you can usually use it later, so that's fine. You just have to retool it somehow. I love D&D. I have a campaign with my friends. They're in a mall currently. A mall? That's cool. What are they doing? But I also love D&D. It has become my favorite thing to do probably. I was talking earlier about how um as a content creator, I sometimes get in these ruts where I feel like everything I has to do has to be for content. And I'm glad I have D&D because D&D is like a thing that I know that I like doing that doesn't have to be content. I literally do it just for fun. Cuz I was realized recently there's not a whole lot of stuff that I do like just for fun. I even when I'm like playing video games or something, it's more than just fun. It's like for progression or for competition or for content or something. But D&D is literally just for fun, and I appreciate that. I like that I have that. They're trying to get to the tallest floor with a big Pepsi corporate manager. It's a joke campaign. No, I mean, my current campaign is a little silly. I appreciate that. I love a silly campaign, so I back that. I like that a lot. I mean, one of the enemies that my players fought was a bear with sharks for hands. It's called Shark Bear. So we get silly. Anyway, I think I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. I'm getting a little hungry, and like I said, I got a few things to do. I got to clean my apartment, and I got to finish prepping D&D. Speaking of, um, thanks for stopping by the stream. Go check out my latest video if you haven't yet. I also got a couple of shorts. If you haven't seen those, there's a couple of shorts on the channel. Um, and I should have a new video coming out pretty soon. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks. So keep an eye out for that. As always, be kind to each other. We live in a weird time. A lot of people are sad and angry. I think we need more kindness in the world, so I will continue to advocate for being kind to each other. And I think that's about it. Bye bye.